This is the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA, a weekly recap of your Eagles and news around the NFL. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rob's Automotive and Collision, BCWSA, Chickies and Pete's, Allstate Fairless Hills Tom LaCroix, and Penworth Financial Services, Penn Community Bank, Capital Grill, Ventresca's LTD, Independence Blue Cross, and SEPTA. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA. Now, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Chickies and Pete's in the Great Northeast. It is me, Merrill Reese, here tonight. Dave Spadaro is not here tonight. And filling in for Dave is Tim McManus of ESPN. So, Tim, thank you for coming to the rescue, and it's great to have you with us.
Please, Merrill. It's a privilege to be here. Good to be with you.
And we have a great guest tonight, one of my favorite people in the world, one of the great linebackers in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, a guy who should very easily be in the Hall of Fame and might one day. How about a nice welcome for Seth Joyner?
Thank you, Merrill. Great to be here with you again.
I think, gentlemen, we saw the Eagles at their best this week.
I think that's 100% right. And you could feel the relief, I think, even within the team. And obviously there's been a lot of consternation around this group as they started off 2-2, finding their footing, questions about the head coach and whether they were going to be able to put it all together. To have that type of complete game where they're playing complementary football, where things were clicking on offense, things that people have been waiting to see, like the under center snaps and the play action, and for it all to be sort of coalescing and the defense rising up under Vic Fangio. I think it was just a deep sigh of relief, both in Philadelphia and internally in that locker room.
Well, you know, anybody who knows Seth knows that Seth is not afraid to criticize, not afraid to be real and to tell you what he really thinks. And after the Cleveland game, which was a win, that was the win that felt like a loss, because the big story after that game was Nick Sirianni and the fans, which turned out to be much ado about nothing. But it was a win. And the one person who I thought would find a lot to complain about would be Seth Joyner. And I spoke to Seth after that game, and you were one of the few people. Mike Quick calls you Debbie Downer sometimes, but you were one of the few people who really found a lot of positives.
Well, Merrill, tell Mike the next time he says that he can just call me Timmy Truther, because that's how I see myself.
Well, he's having fun.
I know. Listen, the coach doesn't play a single down. The coach isn't catching the ball. He's not doing anything on the field that affects the game. Now, I'm not condoning, nor am I defending what Nick Sirianni did. But if somebody came into, if there was an audience, in the broadcast booth, Merrill, they need to fire Merrill. Get Merrill out of here. He's just not what he used to be. At some point in time, the ego, and the pride in you is going to say something.
Sure.
Now, we expect for our leader of the football team, our leader of the franchise, to be a guy who has his wits about him. You don't see that from many other coaches, but you know that Nick Sirianni is a fiery type of guy.
Yeah.
And his players kind of came out and defended him. Now, if his players had a problem with it, I think everybody, should have had a bigger problem with it. But to me, it was more to do about a whole lot of nothing. And at the end of the day, the Eagles were coming off the bye. They got a much-needed win to get them above 500, and the focus should have been on what we saw on the field, much more than what, Nick Sirianni did.
It was a start, Tim. It was the beginning of a winning streak that has now reached 3.
Yeah, and that Cleveland game, I think some of the reason why people were still apprehensive is because of how much talent there is on that offensive side of the ball, and why are the slow starts happening? Does that have to do with coaching? Why do we seem to have that same type of vanilla-looking offense that really held them back, I think, for a large part of 2023? And so I think that's a lot of the reason why I felt doom and gloom in Lincoln Financial Field that day, why there were the fire Sirianni chants. But for them to then go on the road and put together that forceful outing against New York and then do it again against Cincinnati, which is thought of as a step in class
Sure,
up.
I mean, they're a better team than the record, the Bengals.
That's right.
Bengals are a decent team with a great quarterback and some great complementary pieces. But, Seth, I think one of the things is people lack patience. And when I look at the September games, I think they are nothing more than an extension of what used to be the preseason. They don't play the regulars during the preseason. There's new coaches, new coordinators, new players. They don't tackle to the ground during the preseason. And so some teams will start off hot, some teams will start off cold. But when you get into fall, when the frost develops on the pumpkins, then you start to see who is who.
Right. Well, it's amazing that you say that, Merrill, because I was just having a conversation with someone 2 days ago about this very thing. These teams nowadays have made a decision that preseason is no longer going to be about getting ready and playing your players so that they're ready week one. In actuality, the first fourth of the season is really the preseason for your starters, if you will.
Yeah, it is.
Now take into account you got a new system, and people have refuted it, but Jalen said at the beginning of the summer, that the offense was 95% new. Okay, whether that's true or not, nobody actually knows.
Well, it's a new coordinator putting it in.
Yeah, and then you got a new defensive coordinator with a bunch of young guys that he's trying to bring along. And what the last 3 weeks have looked like, even after the Cleveland game, I said, this is a good step forward. People need to stop with the gloom and doom. They're going to win the next 2 games. They should win the next 5 games if you really stop and think about it. But they're making small baby steps in improving, and that's what's necessary. The first 2 series of this past game, the Eagles win, I believe, was 10 plays, 59 yards. They had one bad play call where they lost 2 yards, and then they got a penalty that forced them to kick a field goal. The next series they come out, they go 7 plays, they punt. And then after that, it's almost like, somebody turned the switch on. I mean, they scored the next 7 series in a row. I mean, that's unheard of. The next 7 series in a row, they put some points on the board. So what that's telling me is that, Jalen is now beginning to grasp the offense in totality. Defensively, Vic is getting to a point where he can begin to trust some of these young guys with some of the different things, that he wants to do. I think we saw a very vanilla. I mean, he was really filling it out. He was aggressive against Green Bay. We came back in Atlanta. We was really passive. We came back the following week. I'm trying to remember who they beat game 3.
New Orleans.
A game that they weren't supposed to win. Word was supposed to be blown out of the Superdome.
Yeah, they were.
And they go down, they win that game. They're very aggressive. Then they come back against Tampa Bay, and now they're real passive again. The last 2 games, or 3 games, they've been ultra aggressive. The cornerbacks are up in a much more aggressive stance. They're challenging the wide receivers at the line of scrimmage. They're taking away the quick passes, that Baker Mayfield just carved them up with. He is much more creative in scheming how to bring pressure when he wants to bring pressure. I think the 2 young guys have given him, DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, have given him this level of comfort that he believes that he can run certain things because he doesn't have to worry about the guys out on the corner. So just baby steps. This, Jalen's getting better. The defense is getting better. And by the time we, get past this next win and we get to our most hated rivals, the Dallas Cowgirls, we should be clicking on all cylinders to go down to Dallas and beat the brakes off of them.
And going to your original point, Merrill, there was going to be an acclimation period when it came to a new offensive and defensive coordinator, and you understand now why Vic Fangio was pushing for as much practice time as possible during training camp. Remember, this is an organization that has really peeled back the other way, where they went to the extreme of how much we're practicing during the summer. It's all about keeping your guys fresh, and Fangio comes in with a little bit of that old school mentality. He's like, no, I need these guys. And if you look at that Tampa game where they had 15 missed tackles, you could see where the rust was really there and why Fangio, Seth, was really pushing for that.
Well, and listen, rightfully he should, because, they had some issues tackling. They made some adjustments to how they practice tackling now, and they've cut down on that exponentially. See, my big thing about, let's country club through training camp and get guys healthy in week one. How many guys, I'd love to see the percentages and the numbers, the injuries that teams that have that type of mentality, what the injury situation looks like through the first 3 weeks of the season. I guarantee you it's a lot higher than the teams who approach it from a different standpoint. The Chiefs, they play Patrick Mahomes in the preseason. Their training camp is markedly different. Detroit's, I saw a video.
Dan Campbell's tough.
I saw a video on Dan Campbell. I was never really a Dan Campbell fan. The whole biting off the kneecap things kind of moved me in the wrong direction. But then last year, I saw a video of him addressing his team during training camp, where he implored them. He said, "Listen, I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but we have to do this. We have to practice harder. We need to hit. We need to tackle. Trust me, I'm going to take care of your bodies. But trust me, in order for us to be where we want to be down the road, this is something we have to do." And what he was doing is he was instilling this physical mentality for his football team. And his players bought into it. His players respected him for it. And he stayed true to his promise. And he took care of them where he gave them days off, gave them time to recover. There's two ways to do this. San Francisco 49ers are the same exact way. You hear Javon Hargrave talk about what a country club it is here in comparison to how they practice there even during the season. So how can you have a physical mentality if your mentality is to be passive? I don't understand that. And I'm a firm believer that, the thing that you talk about the most and the thing that you protect against the most is the thing that ultimately winds up happening to you. They continuously talk about not getting players injured. They continuously talk about protecting players. You can't protect players in this game. How many guys run down the field, and pop a calf muscle just running? Nobody touched Deshaun Watson, tore his Achilles up. So
that probably made them better.
It did. But I'm just saying, you can't protect players from being injured in the National Football League. It's going to happen. And training camp and preseason, to me, was always about trying to galvanize my body, harden my body for when the intensity ratchets up 20 to 25% when you move into week one of the season. Instead of going through 4 games somewhere along the way, those 2 games that they lost at the beginning of the year, there may be a game somewhere in there that is the difference between them being a division winner or moving up to a more favorable seed once the playoffs begin.
But you know what? I think, and I've always felt, that the biggest waste of time comes the day after the schedule is announced. People take their pens and they go, "That's a W, that's an L, that's a W right here." And I think to myself, what do they know? Because it's more important when you play a team than who you're playing. I'm going to give you an example. 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, the Eagles got blown out of Tampa Bay. The Eagles were without A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Lane Johnson. Now, if they were playing Tampa Bay this week without Chris Godwin, without Mike Evans, without the other people that they've lost, it would be an entirely different thing. It is the NFL is a war of attrition.
Or the flip side of that, if they played the Browns when Jameis Winston now is quarterback,
who knows?
Maybe that would have gone the other way.
That could have been. You don't know. You're talking about training camps. I started when Dick Vermeil was the head coach, and that was tough. They would bring 120 guys to camp so they could afford to waste some bodies. Now they're limited to 90 players. But when you played, even tougher than Dick's camp was Buddy's camp. Mm-hmm. That was as tough as it could possibly be. Was that too tough?
Well, hey, listen, when you're going through it, it feels like it's unreasonable, But now when I look back in retrospect, what I was beginning to understand is you had a Philadelphia Eagles team that was in the bottom basement vying with the worst team in a 5-team division with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
And he had to kind of figure out who was in and who wasn't. He was trying to find his type of players. And sometimes the best way to do that is to, push players to their limits. Because some players are going to fold under the pressure. Other players are going to embody it. Like it didn't bother me the hard work in training camp because the odds were already stacked against me as the 8th round draft pick. So you couldn't work me or push me hard enough because I was going to pick it up because I'm looking at other guys kind of fall off the ledge, and I'm like, okay, that's one less guy I got to compete against. Oh, that's another guy. Now that's another guy. Now I'm looking at the veterans. Okay, that guy's seasoned. He's been around for a while. It's going to take a little bit more work, a little more study, a little more understanding my defense, for me to knock that guy off. But, when your mind is not set that way, it's real easy for when you're, like, pushed to the ultimate for you to just fold the tent and be like, like the kid they drafted in the 3rd round, McMillan. I know you remember him. He was a tweener, outside backer / defensive end from Colorado. Buddy drafted him in the 3rd round. Mm-hmm. After 2 weeks of training camp, he was like, man, my dad owns a company. I don't need this. He quit.
Yeah.
The guy quit and went home.
Mm-hmm. What do you see when you look at
wait, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to be back with Seth Joyner and Tim McManus right after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles. Our new menu includes our boneless wing special every Monday. Buy a single order of our mouth-watering boneless wings and get a snack order of boneless wings free. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, it's buy one, get one free snows. Buy any number of delectable snow crab legs and get the same amount free. Plus the Kelsey combo, tasty buffalo fried shrimp, seafood pasta in our famous Sicilian or red sauce. Participating locations for a limited time. Chickies and Pete's.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
Hi, this is Merrill Reese, and I'm here to announce that the garage is always open. I'm talking about garage beer. Light beer, like it used to be. How refreshing. I believe my good friend Jason Kelsey even described garage beer as beer-flavored beer. There's a guy who knows beer. Find yours at drinkgaragebeer.com. Remember, the garage is always open.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champs, so I know a thing or two about what it's like playing on a winning team. BCWSA has all the ingredients. They make it easy for their customers to get automatic updates by text, email, or phone anytime there is a disruption in your service area. You can even customize your alerts by going to bcwsa.net. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, your partner for a safer environment. BCWSA, proven.
Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO-TODAY.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And the part of Dave Spadaro is being played by Tim McManus tonight. And we are here at Chickies and Pete's in the Great Northeast with my friend Seth Joyner. Seth, I think sometimes people arrive at opinions and they start to blast certain athletes early, and they just forget that it takes time to develop, to acclimate yourself to systems. There were people who were saying early in the season, well, maybe Jalen will never be what he was in 2022. Is this the right quarterback? Well, I have always been somebody who appreciates Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. When he first came here, Doug Peterson said to me, this young man is going to be a great player. There's not a thing he cannot physically do, and he's dedicated. He wants to be great. And I think we saw this week, particularly, just how good he can be.
Well, listen, I'm of the firm belief that, first of all, I'm not going to say what someone else can't do until they prove to me that they can't do it. Because I know what it's like being in those shoes where people tell you that you can't do something, and then you go about your business of, proving them wrong. Not necessarily proving them wrong, but just doing what you got to do to accomplish what you set out to accomplish. Jalen's been told at every turn what he could and what he couldn't do. And what he could do was limited by his skill set when he started at Alabama. He come from a running offense, an option offense, that didn't require precision passing. And, after 2 or 3 years, it cost him his job. The thing that I admire the most, he made the shift and went to Oklahoma. And in one offseason, played so well, got so good and played so well that he came in second in the Heisman ballot. And people don't remember that.
Yeah, second to Joe Burrow.
Exactly. So when you make the transition from the college game to the pro game, it's a completely different deal, even though they're running a lot of the concepts that he ran when he was in college. When it comes to the passing game, in college you can wait for guys to get open. On the pro level, more times than not, you can't wait. You better be throwing the ball on time and in rhythm.
Yeah.
Because even when it looks like a cornerback is beat, they're all out there running 4.4s and 4.3s. They got makeup speed. So from his first year to his second year as a starter, he went to work in the offseason and improved in that area, and it netted him an opportunity to go to the Pro Bowl, to be a Pro Bowl player, to go to the Super Bowl, to come in second in the MVP, and I believe if he doesn't get hurt in Chicago, he wins the MVP.
I think so too.
Then he loses his offensive coordinator, and then you get Brian Johnson that comes in the fold last year. And I think one of the things that went sideways is that, even though Nick had given up play calling for the right reasons, it comes out later on that he was the one that was actually behind most of the offense last year, and Brian Johnson wound up being, the scapegoat. Well, you got to think that kind of pissed, Jalen off a little bit because that's his guy. So he's got to have some kind of feeling. So all the negativity that you saw, all the strife between him and Nick early on, there had to be some carryover from last year. Now, you go into the 2023 season, 2024 season, he's got another new offensive coordinator, a new voice in his ear, okay? And he's trying to find his way. He's trying to figure it out, Got a new system, again, that he's got to embody. And my issue is that when people talk about Jalen, the thing that they don't consider is that the elite quarterbacks in this league have had their offensive coordinators for 2 to 3 years or more, okay? They've had time to learn the system, create a rapport with their quarterback coach and their offensive coordinator, an opportunity to open up that playbook and master that playbook to where they know that playbook as well as the coordinator and the quarterback coach actually knows that playbook. Jalen has had to do that on 3 different occasions in a 5-year span. And you expect for him to just step on the field and be what he's always been? And this is what I'll say to those people who believe that he'll never be that elite quarterback. Yes, he had a great 2022. He had a good 11 games an average 11 games last year. And then everything went to hell in a handbasket, and it wasn't just because of him, okay? If Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith
Sam
and
Darnold.
Sam Darnold,
Yep.
and I think there's one more, if those guys can resurrect their careers after being left for dead in the National Football League.
Yeah.
I mean, like
cold busts.
like inches away from like totally being out of the game. If those guys can resurrect their career, there's no doubt about that if Jalen, even if he has taken a step back, that he will be once again what he once was, because guess what? You don't accomplish it one time and not figure out how to get back there again.
And he's taken on more authority over the offense. We see now that Jason Kelsey has retired, that now he's in charge of setting the protections. The blitz setup has gotten a lot better in this year. We see that he's answering questions, and I think it was an important game last week in that he answered, can he throw over the middle? Can he operate under center? Like, he's checking boxes one by one. And, he's also, I think, just taking more ownership and responsibility over the team. Like, when he stepped up at the podium after that Bengals win, and he said that we need to start imposing our will on defenses more. And he said that's something that I've been stressing. Like, his voice is growing internally, and I think that's an important thing.
Tim, take a look. And I don't have the list with me, but I saw it today. There is a list of all the first-round quarterbacks taken in the last 10 years. It is amazing how few are with the teams that drafted them. The bad teams draft quarterbacks, and after a year or two say, well, they're not what we wanted, and they spit them out. You think Cleveland wouldn't like to have Baker Mayfield back? You think the Jets wouldn't be happier with Sam Darnold right now? I mean, you take Jalen Hurts. Do you realize Jalen Hurts is only 26 years old, and the great quarterbacks really reach their prime when they're about 30?
I agree. Merrill, that's one of the reasons why I've been on the other side of this thing when it comes to Jalen. Now, on Sunday I tweeted something, during the game when he threw that ball to Gainwell in the flat and looked like it was going to be an interception. That was like, I was like, I kind of lost it for a minute there. But, I tweet in game, so, when you're emotionally invested in the game, sometimes, it comes out, of course, after the game, oh, well, that tweet aged well. That's just all up and down the Twitter line. I get it. But, there's a lot going on with this young quarterback. And the thing that I like about him the most is that he is mentally strong, he's tough, and he's built for Philadelphia, because everything that he's been through, all the things that he's had to endure going to Alabama, winning the national championship, losing his job to Tua, staying the following year and backing Tua up where most guys would have gotten the portal and left right then and there. He
stayed and got his degree.
Yes, he stayed. And then going to Oklahoma and recreating himself under Lincoln Riley, and then coming in and having to kind of deal with some of the things that he had to deal with being a backup to Carson Wentz.
That wasn't easy.
No, and then also dealing with the fact that, hey, Carson Wentz is the franchise quarterback. Carson Wentz doesn't, Nick Sirianni says that, hey, everybody's going to compete. There's no starters on this team. And Carson made it very clear that he wasn't here to compete, that he's a franchise quarterback, and he either wants the job or he wants out of here. Jalen Hurts has never been built that way. He's here to compete. He's going to compete against anybody that you put him in front of. So when I think about him as holistically, he is built for Philadelphia. And the kid's just a winner. If you look at his record and you look at what he's done.
He's won every place.
He's won every place he's been.
100%. I think that he needs a little bit of time. He hasn't had the same play caller in consecutive years except for one time. And what happened? They ended up going to the Super Bowl.
And I had people who were saying to me, he doesn't have enough arm strength. Arm strength, that bomb he threw
59.8
yards. Yep. That was the longest pass in the air this year in the National Football League.
Till Monday night.
Yeah.
I mean, till Sunday night. The Jaden Daniels throw was
that was different. That was a Hail Mary. That was a Hail Mary. But this was an in-stride pass, 60 yards in the air. Doug said to me, as I said, he said he can throw every pass you have to throw in this league. And he can. He can
You know what
knock
I
you
remember?
over if he wants.
You know what I remember, Merle? I remember you telling me we were talking about arm strength, and that year that he came out, the only other quarterback in that draft whose arm strength was stronger, barely stronger, was Justin Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people don't pay attention to stuff like that when they're making these asinine comments about, he doesn't have the arm strength to do this or do that. The kid has proven that he can throw every single throw under the sun.
All right, we're going to be back with Seth and with Tim right after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles. Make a selection from our seasonal food menu, then unwind with one of our sensational cocktails. The South Philly Sizzle, made with Bird Gang Habanero Tequila. Stateside pumpkin pie featuring stateside vodka, rum chata, and pumpkin puree. Delicious fiery sangria, tasty spiced apple punch, or the Campfire Mule. At participating locations for a limited time, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles, Chickies and Pete's.
At Penn Community Bank, we're not just your bankers, we're your neighbors. That comes in handy when you're purchasing your first place, refinancing an existing mortgage, buying a second home or investment property, or looking to tap into your home's equity. Whatever your situation, we pair the latest products, services, and technology that you need with the experienced banking professionals you want. Visit penncommunitybank.com or stop by your local branch to find out how we can make your family's growth personal. Penn Community Bank. Here we are and here we grow. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, this is Merrill Reese, and I'm here to announce that the garage is always open. I'm talking about garage beer. Light beer, like it used to be. How refreshing. I believe my good friend Jason Kelsey even described garage beer as beer-flavored beer. There's a guy who knows beer. Find yours at drinkgaragebeer.com. Remember, the garage is always open.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. And here's the pitch. BCWSA water and sewer customers, you have a new and improved option to pay your bill that's convenient, reliable, and secure. Powered by Invoice Cloud, you can pay your bill 24/7 online, pay by text or phone, or sign up for AutoPay to avoid fees for late or missed payments. Visit bcwsa.net to sign up or for more info. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, proven.
Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO today. When an Eagles player gets hurt, the team takes care of him. When you get hurt, the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will take care of you. They understand that a severe accident can be a life-altering event. You need a reliable teammate to fight for you. The attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will get you great results. And if there's no recovery, there's no fee. Contact them today at 215-750-0110 for a free consultation. 215-750-0110 for a reliable ally that's on your side.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
Tim McManus in for Dave Spadaro, and it is time now for this week's injury review, brought to you by the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio. Contact them today for a free consultation at 215-806-3689. That's 215-806-3689. Tim?
So the big one coming out of that Bengals game was Darius Slay. He left with a groin injury. He, of course, was dealing with a knee injury going into that game, so he's got a couple things that are holding him back. We know Mekhi Becton did not play in that game because of a concussion. He remains in the protocol, and Jordan Mailata was out with the hamstring. He's on IR. He's eligible to return against Washington in a couple weeks here.
What about Dallas Goedert? I mean, is he day-to-day?
Yeah, Goddard still has a couple weeks as well. Or he actually might be able to come back.
He's not on IR.
Not on IR. That's right.
And the other thing is Slay. Was the groin and the knee on the same leg? I'm just curious about that. Nobody seems to know.
Yeah, they haven't specified that yet. Yeah.
I'd be interested to know because we were talking about it in my pre- and post-game show on Sunday. As well as Isaiah Rodgers played, if it's on the same leg, I'd put him on IR for 4 weeks.
I mean, I can see that Rodgers stepped in. That's one thing that the Eagles have going for them this year that they haven't had. Is they got some depth at corner now.
Yeah.
That's true. He's been hurt. Slay's been hurt almost every game. Yeah. He leaves, he comes back, he's in, he's out. The other guy who's about a week away from being eligible to come back because of IR is Britton Covey, who's a great punt returner.
He is. It's going to be interesting what they do. The wide receiver, Ananias, they activated him last week. There wasn't a punt. Did they punt one time, the Bengals?
Yeah, and Cooper DeJean, I think, still had that role, but Ananias Smith was active for the first time.
Yeah.
So now they have some options there.
And he is, from what I understand, he is he's a pretty good returner, during his collegiate career. I don't want to see – I don't care how good Cooper DeJean is. I don't want to see him returning.
And neither does Vic Fangio. Neither does Vic.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Another thing I'd like to focus on for a minute, hear up the opinions of you gentlemen. There's no doubt about it. The quarterback is the most important piece of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. The most valuable player for every team is that what they call, quote, franchise quarterback. But over the years, running backs have been devalued. You see today how Saquon Barkley, if you have an elite running back, if you have Saquon Barkley in Philadelphia, if you have Derrick Henry in Baltimore, what those guys mean to a franchise.
Can I give you some material to write on?
Sure.
100%, yes.
I believe that as time went on, the quarterback position is valuable, okay? But as the quarterback salaries began to escalate, you had to begin to justify paying those guys that kind of money, in my opinion. Because there's a whole lot of quarterbacks making $50 million that ain't worth $50 million, okay? Now, there's some that's worth – you look at Patrick Mahomes, he might be worth 65 on his, redo coming up. But there are some guys that's not even worth $20, $25 million. But you had to justify it. So we turned it into, it's a quarterback-driven league, it's a passing league, okay? But I think if you go back, over the last 2 years and you begin to look at how offenses are operating, the teams that run the ball most effectively give their quarterback the better chance for success. As great as Patrick Mahomes is, when he struggles, Andy, unlike he did when he was here, he goes to the running game. He'll turn around and hand it to Pacheco. He'll turn around and hand it to, whoever he's got back there. And that seems to get their offense back in gear, because when you can run the ball, it opens up the rest of your playbook, and you can go play action pass. But my thing is, they've devalued the running back position so that they can overvalue, and overemphasize paying these quarterbacks the type of money that they're paying them. You're going to tell me Saquon Barkley isn't worth more than $13 million to the Philadelphia Eagles? You're going to tell me that Derrick Henry is not worth more than what they're paying him? But they've devalued the position and put a lifespan on it which makes no sense to me. Because in my opinion, if the quarterback is the most important player on the team, guess what? The two components of the offense that are his best friends are a running back and a solid offensive line. If you give him those two things, it's almost impossible. If he can throw and hit the broadside of a barn with a beach ball, there's no way in the world you can tell me that he can't be successful.
It does feel like the pendulum is starting to swing a little bit back towards running backs,
Yes.
and some of that's because the salaries are down like they are. And the Eagles were looking at that landscape and saying that you could spend that kind of money on like a number 2 or number 3 wide receiver, and the same type of money you're getting Saquon Barkley, who has absolutely been a difference maker for this team.
But the other thing, too, is, I think that teams are starting to realize that, there's only a handful of quarterbacks, that can operate without a running game. There's only a handful. We're seeing an aging Aaron Rodgers prove that, how valuable a running game actually is to him.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been saying it. I've said it forever. A quarterback's best friend is his running back and his offensive line. So you can't devalue that position because there's only a handful of listen, if I would venture to say if there's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, there's probably 4 that I can think of that can operate, that can go 40 to 50 passes in a game and win on a consistent basis. Because the more the pass attempts go up, the more the probabilities go up that you're going to turn the ball over. So when you see them bring Jalen Hurts down to 14 passes the week before last and 20 passes this week, and you're being outpaced running the ball more than you are throwing the ball, that's a benefit to Jalen and the play-action pass that we saw last week. Now, there's going to come a point in time where the pendulum is going to swing back in the other direction because the organization really wants to throw the ball. But until you get Jalen where he needs to be, this is the formula. And dare I say, a game manager until he gets his confidence back. Nothing wrong with that, just as long as you're winning.
A pretty good running back.
Absolutely.
This Sunday is being inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame.
My dude.
And that is number 25, Shady McCoy. And how special was he? I still think back to December 8th, 2013, and the snow game against the Lions.
I was at that game.
Oh, what a game and what a performance. He broke Steve Van Buren's single-game rushing record. Steve Van Buren was 2005, back in 2 centuries ago, and Shady ran for 217 that day.
I don't know how you called that game, Merrill. I remember looking from the press box and it's like, who is on the other sideline?
We could see stick figures.
No, I saw that.
But I don't know how I did it either.
But I do remember McCoy. Like it seemed like he was on a different surface than everybody else that game.
I was a little upset because I was up in a box. And right before the game started, the people who owned the box decided they were going to open the windows. I'm like, why?
So they could try to see. I mean, it was a mess, but Shady was a great one.
Yeah, he was.
How would you compare Shady, Seth, to Saquon?
There's just two different types of running back. I mean,
Shady was a little niftier. Saquon is more powerful.
Saquon is powerful, but he does have the ability to make people miss in tight spaces.
Does.
But, Shady was more like he's just elusive. You know, he can make 3-4 people miss in a short area. And sometimes he would lose
Barry
yards.
Sanders like?
More like Barry Sanders. And he sometimes he would lose yards in situations by trying to make so many people miss. But he would always make up for it, in some of these spectacular runs that he would have where he'd make 2 or 3 people miss beyond the line of scrimmage, and you look at him and you just shake your head. I mean, I always thought there was nothing quite like him from a skill set since I played against Barry Sanders.
I was having a fun conversation with you on the sideline the other day, Merle. Like, where does Saquon rank among these Eagle greats? Because you're seeing that mixture where he can have that elusiveness, but also, like, he'll lay the shoulder on you. How about, like, the swing pass against New York to get that ball rolling? We saw it again against Cincinnati. And then the play down the right sideline later in that game where he's just tiptoeing down the thing and he ends up hurdling the cameraman. Like, his ability is just unbelievable.
It is amazing.
Well, I know he's only been here. He's only played, 7 games? 7 games for the team.
Yes.
I will say this: you can't compare him because it's a small sample size.
Sure.
But I will say this: I don't think that I can, in my memory, and I got a pretty good understanding of the history of the Philadelphia Eagles over the years. There's no one that you can compare them to. Nobody that the Eagles have ever had has had the kind of dual skill set of being a power, elusiveness, triple skill set, and just pure speed. Because once he breaks out into the secondary, if you don't have the right angle on him, you're not catching him.
Well, he reminds me in a way of the great running backs like Emmitt Smith, in that I would do a game with Emmitt Smith, and Emmitt Smith would pick up 2 yards, 3 yards, a yard, 7 yards, 2 yards, and just when you thought the Eagles have him today, boom, 70 yards. You know if they give the ball to Saquon Barkley enough times, he's going to have what they call an explosive 40-yard plus play.
Yeah, but you always have somebody on the back end of your defense that could go get Emmett. You ain't going to get Saquon.
Yeah. Did you ever tackle Emmett?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was part of you.
Oh, yeah, plenty of times.
Yeah.
Plenty of times. We had many battles.
Did you go after Barry?
People ask me all the time, who's the one running back throughout your career that you hated playing against the most? It wasn't the big guys. It wasn't the big bruisers. It was Barry. Clearly Barry. I mean, I can remember practicing the first time we played him, practicing that week, and I played left outside linebacker. And the coach and the defense coordinator was like, listen, if they toss weak with Barry, don't even pursue the ball. Just stay at home. First series, they toss weak, and you're all hyped up about the game. You're not thinking about all the other stuff. It's it's bred and born in your DNA to pursue the football. So I take off and I start pursuing the football, and as I'm starting to pursue, I look, and here he comes right back to where I was told to stay. And I mean, he was just phenomenal. I mean, there's nothing like him. I mean, the power backs, you can deal with them. The guys that are elusive like that, I'm sure glad they didn't have with the top 10 on ESPN, back in our day, because he would have been on embarrassing somebody every single week.
Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA. We'll be back after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles. We're teaming up with Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown for a new wing flavor this football season. A.J. Brown's Sweet Heat Wings. We combine the sweet and spicy flavors A.J. loves, plus a portion of the proceeds benefit the A.J. Brown Foundation, and it's focused on empowering underprivileged youth. At participating locations for a limited time, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles, Chickies and Pete's.
At Penn Community Bank, we're not just your bankers, we're your neighbors. That comes in handy when you're purchasing your first place, refinancing an existing mortgage, buying a second home or investment property, or looking to tap into your home's equity. Whatever your situation, we pair the latest products, services, and technology that you need with the experienced banking professionals you want. Visit penncommunitybank.com or stop by your local branch to find out how we can make your family's growth personal. Penn Community Bank. Here we are and here we grow. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
Hi, this is Merrill Reese, and I'm here to announce that the garage is always open. I'm talking about garage beer. Light beer, like it used to be. How refreshing. I believe my good friend Jason Kelsey even described garage beer as beer-flavored beer. There's a guy who knows beer. Find yours at drinkgaragebeer.com. Remember, the garage is always open.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champs, so I know a thing or two about what it's like playing on a winning team. BCWSA has all the ingredients. They make it easy for their customers to get automatic updates by text, email, or phone anytime there is a disruption in your service area. You can even customize your alerts by going to bcwsa.net. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, your partner for a safer environment. BCWSA, proven.
Planning to go to the game? Give LimoToday.com a call. You'll get to the game and back safely and in style. Why worry about the traffic and parking when you can relax and let LimoToday.com do the driving for you and your friends? And if you book a 5-hour trip with LimoToday.com, you'll get the 6-hour free. From sedans to minibuses to vans and stretch limos, let LimoToday.com get you to the game. Give them a call at 1-866-LIMO-TODAY. That's 1-866-LIMO-TODAY.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts, Eagles insider Dave Spadaro and voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
Dave is off tonight. Tim McManus is in his place and doing a great job. Tim, it's now time for this week's Penworth Financial Keys to the Game. The key to your financial future is Penworth Financial. Call them today at 267-997-4503 or visit penworth.com. I would say that the number one key to this game is to get the rush in the face of Trevor Lawrence. He is a talented quarterback, but he has been inconsistent. He is passing and completing only 62% of his passes. You want a quarterback who is completing 70%, and he's elusive, but yet they've been shutting him down.
He's going to be down his top 2 wide receivers probably for this game, Merrill, so that should help the defense out. And because of that, I'm going to turn to special teams a little bit here. I feel like if the Eagles just take care of their business and don't have, as Michael Clay has described, as catastrophic plays on special teams, if they can avoid that and really take care of business and make sure that they stay on high alert for any trick plays, because if that offense is going to be stagnant, then maybe they're going to try to get creative. So make sure you have a good outing on the special team side.
He talked about the fact that their punter has been known to throw the football.
That's right. Yeah, so
Logan
high
Cook.
alert.
Yeah,
high alert.
He used that word.
Yes,
those
he did.
words.
Yep.
High alert. Be on high alert. Be on high alert for everything, really. And I think the defense could be in good shape. But again, Trevor Lawrence is another quarterback with a really great arm who can put the ball any place.
That's right. And familiar with his head coach. So, he knows how to get the most out of some guys.
That is Doug Peterson, who is one of the best guys you'd ever want to meet. But right now they're battling. They're battling to really, I think, save his job.
Yeah, I think that's right.
They're having their problems. So those are the week's Penworth Financial Keys to the Game. The key to your financial future is Penworth Financial. Call them today at 267-997-4503 or visit penworth.com. Tim, what about this Eagles team has surprised you the most?
I would say the plays of the rookies. You know, when you talk about Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, it usually takes time for rookies at any position. I think that certainly holds true for defensive backs to really get their footing and get up to speed. And Mitchell, from the first time I saw him in the spring, has just looked the part, even though he's coming from the MAC, Merrill, and right to the NFL. People had questions about what that transition would look like, and he just has felt at home, and it almost feels like he should have 4 or 5 picks already.
Yeah.
And then Cooper DeJean comes in, and man, has he been a difference maker. Like the play he had on Jamar Chase in that game where Chase is trying to shake loose of him in motion in the backfield, and DeJean is able to navigate through traffic, identify what was happening, shoot it, and take Chase down. I mean, that was one of the biggest plays of that game.
Tell you what else has surprised me. There are certain players that fans were kind of getting suspect of, maybe even more than suspect, doubtful about. I'm going to give you two names going into the season. One is Nakobe Dean, who came out with a lot of publicity from his days at Georgia, slipped. A lot of people thought he would be a first-round draft pick. He was picked in the third round. And he really didn't do that much except get injured. And the other player like that was the second player picked in the first round, at the end of the first round a year ago, and that was Nolan Smith. Both of these guys, especially Nakobe Dean, have stepped up this year and made plays, and Nolan Smith has a sack in each of these last 3 wins.
I'll say so much of the future of the defense was predicated on whether the Georgia guys were going to rise to the occasion, and it wasn't the greatest start for several of them, including Smith and Dean. I've always thought when speaking with Dean that he just exudes leadership, and I always had that feeling like if he could get healthy and stabilize his play, like he could be a nice force for this defense and help them all sort of unify, which I think is part of what we're seeing. And then with Dean, he was dealing with a shoulder injury his rookie year and never really came into his own. And to see him starting now to generate some positive momentum is great for this defense.
Yeah, he's done a great job. He really has done a great job. All right, Tim, we're going to pick some games and see how good you are at this. I know that I'm not very good at this. All right, is there any chance that Washington can upset that the Giants could upset Washington?
It's hard to picture right now. It's like Washington can't do anything wrong. They beat Chicago on that Hail Mary late, and they're rolling. So I like Washington.
Okay, I am picking Washington also. All right, here's another one. A slumping but still somehow dangerous Dallas team at Atlanta. Falcons are surprising some people.
Yeah, they are. And, we saw them up close and personal. Dallas just doesn't really feel like they have their legs yet. I'm gonna ride with the Falcons on that one.
Are you? Okay, I'm going to take Dallas because I think they do. They had that horrendous loss to Detroit. Last week, I thought they were going to get blown out by San Francisco in the third quarter, but they came back and they made it tough. So I think they're due. All right. Detroit at Green Bay.
What a great game. Man, great game. All of these wildcard teams might come out of the NFC North. How about it, Merrill?
Yeah, they may.
Yeah, but how can you go against the Lions right now? They're a complete football team.
They are. They're very, very good. The Rams at Seattle. Now, the Rams were given up for dead, and they came up with a big win last week.
Yeah, I kind of like the Rams to make a late season push here now that they have their wide receivers and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua is back. I'd like the Rams to start getting hot.
All right. Chicago at Arizona. Bears are smarting after losing that game on the Hail Mary to the Commanders. But, they've done some good things, and Caleb Williams hasn't disappointed them as the number 1 pick.
That feels like a kind of game where you could go one or two ways. That could start to sink your season, or it can be sort of an inflection point. So this becomes a pretty critical game for the Bears. It looks like the Arizona's on the rise a little bit under Gannon, but I think I'm going to take Chicago in this one.
I'm going to take Arizona.
All right.
All right. The other one is Denver at Baltimore.
Denver at Baltimore, got to go with the Ravens. It feels like they're trending towards possibly getting into the Super Bowl, certainly being one of the AFC contenders. I like them again this week.
Indianapolis, quarterback by 72-year-old Joe Flacco at Minnesota.
The elite Joe Flacco. I
right.
think I'm going to go with those Colts. How about you?
Okay, I'm going to go with Minnesota. And they've lost 2 in a row. So I think they are due to get back. And this might be the best of all. Tampa Bay at Kansas City.
Well, the Chiefs are the lone undefeated team in the NFL, and they find a way to win. It seems like we were having a similar conversation about them last year. Where it's like, not really clicking on all cylinders, and they still end up with a good record and in the Super Bowl. So I'll go with the Chiefs.
You're probably right, but I'm taking Tampa Bay. Tim, we are out of time. You've been a great co-host tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to Seth Joyner for being our guest. Thanks to Chris Irmer, our technical director. And once again, Pro Football Report, the executive producer is George Forster, PGA. So for all of us at Chickies and Pete's, we will see you next week at Chickies and Pete's in Malvern. Good night, everyone.
You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W297CL Levittown.